Welcome, everybody. Um, Welcome, everybody. And this is the start of the new San Mateo County Democracy for America. And I want to start our program tonight with Ashley. And she's going to kind of talk about where we've been and where do we need to go. Ashley.
Okay, thank you, Susie. Okay, hi everybody. Tonight we are embarking on a shift of focus for San Mateo County Democracy for America. We came together 23 years ago. Oh my gosh, I hope that's not my phone. It is. Sorry. Okay. So we came together answering the our country's invasion of Iraq. So we came together to support Howard Dean, who seemed to be the only elected in the whole country who was speaking out against the war. So we actually chartered as San Mateo County Democracy for America, chartered with the County Democratic Party in 2004. And in our bylaws, we adopted a mission statement that said that we shall seek to inspire the active participation of county residents in the political process, to provide a forum for communicating ideas, and to promote progressive candidates, policies, and reforms. So that has been our blueprint, and still, has served us very well up until this date. But now, you may have noticed that times have changed. The country is in dire straits, and we feel that a shift in our focus, while we are still devoted to those same progressive ideals, that a shift is in order because we have lost our democracy. We need to win it back. And the only way to win it back is to protect our elections and to flip the House and the Senate to Democratic to prominence again, because that's the only way we can rein in Trump. So here we are. And we are launching our new campaign, which we call Flipping the House and Senate, a Grassroots Campaign. And our goal for 2026 is to win all the elections that we can, to get as many Democratic voices in there. So our kickoff is tonight. We are still going to remain loyal to our progressive issues that we love dearly. We will go on with those. But our overall focus is going to be to win back the House and the Senate. So with that, I am going to turn it back to Susie.
All right. So we're looking at the elections being our club task force for the year. Where normally we might break up and focus on social justice issues or maybe communications or other things, we're going to focus primarily on the elections. So when we talk about healthcare as an example, we're going to look at healthcare as how do we do that and use that as one of the issues that we're looking for in winning the elections in 2026. And we've got to start with the primaries coming up this spring, and then we go into the general election in the fall. I want to start with, go on now to Marshall to talk about some of the recent wins. Um, and Marshall, do you have anything that you want to show?
No, but I'll go slow.
Well, One thing I could do is I have that nice slide that Mary sent earlier, Mary McVeigh Gill. Would you like to have that shown?
Sure. Yeah, that was helpful.
I want to.
Um, and while you're getting that up, um, it's, since we have recognized, as Ashley pointed out, that um, we really need to focus on the elections. And in the past, what we've always done is had a monthly meeting on various and sundry topics that were not always related and focused on that. Um, this brings us to how do we focus on elections, and can we win? Can we flip formerly red seats, and can we get many more Democrats in the House so we can stop awful bills that are being passed and stop and make sure that the Senate will not appoint these awful judges and other cabinet replacements and so on. So that brings us to, is it possible to do that? And we've had examples recently of the tide turning, that people are recognizing what's going on, and the tide is turning. And the tide is turning in districts that overwhelmingly went for Trump in 24. And the several of the examples are, of course, the recent Texas state Senate seat that was won. It's in the state Senate, not the Fed Senate, but it's an important lesson because it was in a district that Trump won by 14 points in 24, and this Democrat won the seat in the state Senate by 17 points, which is a 31-point swing in a Trump district, which really threw shivers into a lot of the Republicans, and I'm sure they're still quite worried about it. And of course, we have the examples of the Virginia governorship, won overwhelmingly by a Democrat, as well as the New Jersey Democrat governor won overwhelmingly as well. And in Virginia, of course, both of the state houses are now under Democratic control. And these events were not happening overnight. They happened because people over the last year realized that not only do we have a Trump government, but we have a fascist authoritarian government. And it's not just Trump, but it's all his henchmen too. In addition, although it wasn't a overwhelmingly anti-Trump vote, although it was, Texas finally filled its 18th congressional district, which was vacant for 18 months was vacant because the governor refused to hold an election there when the Democratic incumbent died. And so it now adds one more Democrat in Congress. So that's why the Congress only has the Republicans only have one vote advantage, and they will shortly not have even that. So yeah.
Marshall, quick
Yeah.
question on that one. When is the House going to seat this new member?
I think it was last week.
Just because they're elected, we know doesn't mean a whole lot.
Well, yeah, it was last week, and they're expecting him to be sworn in soon. They don't think
Good.
Johnson is going to be able to do what he did last time.
Okay.
But, we never can, don't put your money on it yet.
Right. Right.
Anyway, so that's the kind of thing. And then you wanted to put up Mary's point, unless Mary wants to just do it herself.
I did, and then I just took it down.
Oh, okay.
Do we want to see it again?
Oh, I was too busy looking at my
Okay.
notes. Okay.
Well, um, what I'm ready to do is why don't we go ahead and let's turn now to brainstorming. And in our newsletter, there were a number of points, things that we can use as brainstorming ideas. Um, and it starts off with how do we ensure a free and fair election? And that's got to be key because, and we know we're seeing Trump trying to suppress the vote, trying to take over elections. So one of the things that we can be talking about is how do we do that? How do we ensure that that actually happens not only in the primary here in California, but across the states? And I'm opening up to, yeah, Ashley.
This new tack that he's taking, and it's just astonishing how each day brings something even more outrageous than the day before. But this talk now about nationalizing the election shows what we are up against. We absolutely cannot, it's okay, can't do that because it's in the Constitution that the states are in charge of the elections. Well, since when does Trump care about the Constitution? I think he's only vaguely aware of it, if at all. So really, our work is cut out for us. And this is definitely one of the things we're going to have to be working against. I think, there's going to have to be some demonstrations dedicated to that. But also, we need the Democrats in Congress to become very vocal on this issue. And the states too. I think we can count on Newsom to come up with some funny responses to that, and that's good. But this is, ensuring free and fair elections is one of the most daunting things facing us. And I have no answers.
Elsa, you're next.
By the way, I can't see it on my screen. Do you see my hand raised?
Yes.
Okay, a bar there. The other thing, Ashley, and boy, good point, was he's doing a two-pronged pincer movement, I think, because he sends the FBI into the Fulton County Election Registrar's office. Fulton is one of the largest Atlanta districts and has a lot of wealthy Blacks and is a big Democratic stronghold relative to everything else. So to have him send the FBI in there, you can picture how many, but the big one is everything. And he's made it a cornerstone of his speeches for a week now. Why do we need state elections? What a waste. Let's do national.
Well,
those
because
two.
the law says we do.
But I'm the law, says he.
So,
Marshall?
I agree. And, Steve Bannon was just quoted as saying, of course, we're going to send ICE and feds into all the election districts, of course. But I think one of our jobs is to figure out what kind of strategies we can do to ensure that we protect our own elections in California, which probably might be under less threat than in other states because it would be very tough to overturn the Democratic vote when it's so large here, but who knows? But one of the other strategies, I think, is to continue to try to wake up our members of Congress and senators in our state that we have the closest contact to, in both the Senate and the House, because they are so slow in waking up. I got an email, and many of you probably did too, from Adam Schiff, one of several over the last couple of weeks that just infuriated me that are living in the past. But the new one was actually said he just realized, he didn't say he just realized, but his letter pretty much says, gosh, Steve Miller is really an awful guy, and we've got to do something about him. And we've only been saying this since the first Trump administration. So we have got to hammer these guys over and over to wake them up that the fascists are trying to do it. And I think excuse me, Ashley, if I say this wrong. I think it must have been a little tongue in cheek when you said we were quite surprised when Trump said he wanted to nationalize elections, because if you read the playbook of all the other autocrats and dictators that have taken over in various countries around the world, they have done every one of those things. And we said that's exactly what Trump and his fascist administration is going to do, little by little, when the time is right to put that in. So, no, we're really not surprised by anything they do. It's in the playbook. So,
But
yeah.
Marshall, he says it out loud.
Yes, he does say it out loud, but the other ones did it. And so we're not surprised that he's doing it. Just like he tries to, he wants to destroy the free press, and he wants to have his own police force do his bidding and so on. And he wants to control the elections, of course.
Actually was being facetious.
Okay, so Marshall, you just brought up an action point, which is hammering at our electeds. And I think that's something I'm putting down as that's an action item for us. And we can keep that on our open list. And the action item I want to add is, and we kind of talked a little bit about it just now, was monitoring the elections. That we can all sign up to monitor the elections. And you can be an observer in the elections office. You can also be a volunteer at the elections office. Now, I don't think they actually do it as a volunteer anymore. I think you have to sign up for the job. It takes a couple of weeks, and you're actually, then you're on the payroll for that. But then maybe that's another action that club members can be doing. And being an observer, which is kind of outside of that, I believe you can do in any county in California. So that doesn't limit us to just San Mateo County. So that might be another thing that we can, work at the election and monitor the election. And again, another action item that we can add to our list. And then Joanne?
He's unmuting.
There you go.
There I go. One thing that I got a email or a text saying that the Republicans already had a bill that says make elections great again, to nationalize, that they've already done that. So our representatives really need to get, when we talk to them, they need to be informed that this cannot happen or that we need to have a bill that says they have to remain constitutionally with the states on that particular.
Can you expand on that? Because it's not something I might think I'm aware of.
It came in at noon to me. That the House had unveiled a Make Elections Great Again bill to nationalize.
Is this the SAVE Act?
Nope, it's a new one.
Oh,
It's a SAVE Act on steroids. No mail-in ballots, etc.
It's Nancy probably knows
okay.
better than I, because I'm teaching and I just saw it, and I think that there needs to be maybe on our side like save our elections bill that says we need to stay constitutionally with what our founding fathers said of the states are responsible for elections.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
would be one thing.
All right. Nancy, you're up.
Okay, just a few things on this then. I guess, wouldn't it require a constitutional convention to change the Constitution to make that kind of a switch? I mean, our Congress can't just enact a law and say we're changing the Constitution.
Right.
That has to go to a convention. So,
Well, no, not a convention. It would just be a constitutional amendment.
It would go to the states for voting.
Right.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Pass Congress and then go to the states
Right.
for 37 to pass.
And then with regard to the elections and watching and precincts and stuff, we could also go work in an adjacent state like Nevada, which looks right now like it could become a trifecta state because they are currently blue in legislature and they have a gubernatorial election this year. So Nevada could be important. But the other thing I was going to suggest is we could watch for campaigns where we write to postcard to other places and encourage voter registration, especially those places where we think they're going to really hit the voter rolls, like in Fulton County, perhaps. So we could also work on some voter registration campaigns.
Not in California. We've got to do it everywhere that it.
Right. Where they're impacted.
Including
Yeah.
election observing. I don't think observing here is going to make enough difference.
Well, that's why I thought, well, maybe Nevada, but
But California too, because we have a lot of unregistered people. So, and
Right.
particularly young people.
But I was suggesting some analysis if we think there are some states that are possibly looking at a legitimate blue trifecta, like maybe like anyway, to get voter registration amped up in those states too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Bill. There you go.
Yeah, just to follow up with what Nancy was just saying, the whole thing about trying to nationalize elections, it's got to go through a constitutional. It's not just like passing a simple bill in Congress, which some Republicans may think they can do, including Trump. But it's a much more drawn out and extended process. I think the move to nationalize elections, it would be really hard to turn it around that quickly, given that we're going to be having primaries beginning like this year, I think. So realistically, I mean, I think what really we need to pay attention to is how the different states are going to behave as far as elections go. So I think we need to pay attention to how many Democratic and Secretary of State governors and Secretary of State Democrats we have in our various states around the country. I don't know off the top of my head what that is, but that's really key in terms of how elections get run in a given state, is how its Secretary of State and the governor is involved with that. So that's something to pay attention to. The other thing is, as far as voter registration and electoral monitoring of elections, we can go out and get involved in wherever we think that there's a need for that. So I would just say part of our action, Susie, may be that we need to do some research in terms of our monitoring, in terms of where the most vulnerable parts of the country are. And Nancy Goodman's been involved in getting the vote out in some of those states that are more vulnerable, and working hard to get more representation in places like Georgia, Alabama, what have you. So that's Nancy can speak more to that in terms organizationally, but that would be an organization that we should look to or look at in terms of talking about how we could be involved with that. When Marshall and I did the last election, we focused in on the key states and where it was really important that we see where the winnable states were, and that again, I would think would be a strategy that we're going to start with. So I think we all need to become well versed on the different states, who's running, what's possible, what's winnable, and look at focus that way. There are groups out there like Focus for Democracy too that have done really good work in the past on that, and I would look to them as a resource this time around for also giving us some direction on where we put our focus in the election.
That's what they did during the last meeting, Bill.
I know that, Greg. So I'm just saying that's great, but we need to continue that focus going forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my friends there to send Susie and others maybe, but certainly Susie, the list of people that they're endorsing and supporting.
And which group is this?
This is
Focus for Democracy.
Oh, okay, the one that Marshall was talking about. Okay, good. So those are all things that are good starting points for us for moving forward. And I also just want to mention, so the question came up from Allison about, is there any chance that we can do these monitoring, observing remotely? And I think these are research questions, and we should be looking into that. What can we do from California? What do we need to be in person for? Because that would then extend the actions that we could do. Okay, Marshall?
Yeah, thanks. And by the way, I've sent emails to everybody that's asked and some that haven't asked to the Focus for Democracy meeting so that you can see how they plan their strategy. And I have to say, Greg is the one who first introduced us to that, I think like in the 2020 election, maybe even before 2018. In any case, they're very strategic. And when we do focus our efforts as an election committee and figure out how we're going to run it, who's going to chair it so that it actually has somebody making sure that things are getting done.
Okay. And I've got that. I got that coming down later that we'll talk about.
No, that's not my main point.
Yeah.
But when we do that, then we can bring together those strategic points that have been provided by other groups that are focusing on it. For example, how do you get out the vote effort so that it's mostly getting to people that are going to vote for candidates we want them to vote for, and so on. And just one comment about the governorship that Nancy mentioned. We always take for granted it's going to be a Democrat, but with so many Democrats running and splitting the vote, it is conceivable that we could get a Republican in the first two, or even both, if the Republicans are unified and get out there, and that a Democrat wouldn't. So we have to figure out how we support the Democratic effort to winnow the field down so that we can make sure that we don't get one of these really not so good Republicans.
Thanks. Nancy?
Yeah, just thinking about how we can help secure the elections. I think one thing, and it is research, and it's what people were saying, we should find out the National Election Protection Groups that have been doing this for 2 decades now. There are definitely observers on the ground, and 20 years ago, you could be an observer on the ground right outside the polling place, at least in Florida. They might have tightened a lot of that down. I mean, in states like Georgia and Florida, but there's always an opportunity. They always have attorneys, and I think also trained people who can answer the phones, so that if someone is there at the polling place and they have a problem, whether it's intimidation or the machines don't work or whatever, they can call the hotline and the person on the hotline can connect them. So I think to our advantage will be to partner with people, is to do the research and figure out which big groups we want to partner with. We definitely don't want to recreate the wheel and create an election protection task force. So I think that's my main point. And thinking too about even our local Democratic Party, they always do work with the Bay Area Coalition, and we know this, and figure out which are the target areas and help people get lined up to go to go across the state lines. So looking at the resources among the California Democrats, the local Democrats, and the National Election Protection would be just smart, probably.
And I think a key that you just said too was partnerships, collaboration with existing groups. And I think that'll be really important for what we're doing is, yeah, no, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to work with you, and we want to make sure that we're pushing out to your groups and things like that.
And one thing, it is true, people are being purged. So Center for Common Ground is writing to 86,000 registered Black voters in Milwaukee, which was all of them. But last 2 years ago when we did this, there was like 190,000. So it turns out that 90,000 or 80,000 got purged because they were inactive. So in Wisconsin, they send you a little white postcard that says, if you don't return this, we'll take you off the rolls. So we're phone banking those people, not sending a postcard, but phoning them and saying, according to voter rolls, it looks like you may be not registered and you have to check it. So I think that's another thing we can do, is partner with groups that are trying to reach out and reach voters who've been purged. That's different than just non-registered voters. These are voters who did vote at one time or tried to vote at one time, and they've been purged, and they have them in all the voter suppression states.
And those are groups who have gone deep in that kind of thing. And Center for Common Ground probably knows that better than anyone else. So to use their expertise and just say, we're hands, and voices also use us.
And as I do point out to people who are complaining because Center for Common Ground writes only to Black voters, they want to write just to Democrats. The percentage of Black voters who voted for Kamala was what, 85, 90%? The percentage of Democrats who voted for Kamala was probably a bit less than that. It's white women that put her over the top. I mean, put the other guy over the top. So writing to Black voters is one of the most effective things we can do. And by the way, Center for Common Ground has dropped writing to Hispanic and Asian American voters. So there.
Has dropped.
Ashley?
Yeah, we got a taste of something with what happened in Fulton. I worry that, Trump is not going to care about the Constitution. He's not going to care about new laws. He is, he's like the guy who invented the answer to the question, is it better to ask permission or forgiveness? I can picture stormtroopers going in on election day, and even on these special elections that we have coming up before the midterms, that he will do something like that. Just go in with stormtroopers and take over the ballot boxes on election day, because only Trump can be trusted to give us free and fair elections. So how do we deal with those? Who could have stopped what happened in Fulton County? And how can we deal with those? I think we're going to see more and more tactics like that. Really,
Governors that we need to rely on it's governors, and it's their state. It's got to be their state, and I hate to say it, but their state version of law enforcement, of the military.
But you have to know that they're coming in order to get because law enforcement isn't there all the time.
Yeah.
So you have
how
to.
can we stop these sudden raids that
Yeah.
that we at present have no way of knowing about. I assume they had a warrant to do that, right?
Oh, of course.
Well, no, you would assume that, but that might not be a very good assumption.
They might not even have a warrant. They've been
Right.
doing warrantless things in Minnesota.
They may have written the warrant themselves.
Right.
And who served does it. But that's the pre-planning, actually, I think, of assume it's going to happen. How are you going to react in that? And how do you get yourself ready and assume it's going to happen?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, that would be each election department. So something we could talk to our local elections about.
Yes, it'd be good to know what kind of plans they have in place.
Mhm.
Although, you know,
We're so safe.
it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to lose California, but certainly that should be a big issue in all the battleground states. And they are feeling pressure already.
Yeah.
As they should.
And intimidation.
Okay.
Tim Walz has called out the National Guard to protect protesters. It raises the specter potentially of National Guard having to defend the polling place against stormtroopers, which we hope doesn't happen, but it might be a good preventative. And I think it's an idea that we could explore, you know, because there ought to be enough National Guard to go around to protect our polling places.
And that's what I kept thinking, Gail. And then I thought, oh, but their title is National Guard.
Pardon?
So technically,
But
their
they are
title is
state,
national.
they're
It's not
state-based.
state. They are state-based, but do they report to the governor or do they
report to the
governor's
governor.
office? Okay, then I'm happy.
The governor
Except-
is in charge of
except-
National Guard everywhere except for DC. The president is in charge of the ones in DC.
But
Well,
he has ignored that. He has called them up to do his bidding.
But why do they do it?
Well, Tim Walz called them out to protect protesters. I guess everybody's heard that they've been handing out hot chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, but in other states, why have those states been doing it? I mean, wasn't LA wasn't just out of state people, wasn't it also?
No. LA was Trump taking the California National Guard for his own reasons.
But why?
The courts finally then said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, but he did get them to begin with. What I want to stop is how he can have gotten them. I want every governor or whomever, by the way, there are 24 Dems and 26 Republican governors. I want every governor to say, I mean, ahead of time, say National
California
Guard,
governor,
listen to them.
the mayor of LA, they all said no, and Trump overrode them. I mean,
But how does that happen? Let's make sure our state National Guards know ahead of time to say, not taking that message.
well, so those are the guardrails of government that have been obliterated and need to be reinforced and put back into place.
But somebody said, okay, sir, sorry, I will do
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Gail, did you finish on your question or statement?
Well, yeah, I think so. I just think maybe we could possibly talk to our electorates and kind of float the idea out there.
Well, maybe we
Sometimes
just start with,
we might come up with an idea that they hadn't thought of that might actually do some good.
well, maybe just a conversation with our elections to see, do they have a plan? Maybe they already do, and we just don't know it yet. But that could be very handy if San Mateo County does, then maybe we could start talking to other counties.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know until you try.
Yeah.
I would point out, and this is just a sidebar to all this excellent discussion of, this really serious organized electioneering. But I guess everybody noticed that the last election came only a few days after a massive No Kings demonstration. And so I think those events are very important to promote also, to get as many people wake up as many people and get as many people involved in the process as possible.
but have specific action items that when they're on the street, that you pass out whatever and you say, go home and do this, do these 3 things. Not just show up on the street. We've got to have direction for make sure you do this. I think it's a huge waste not to have that.
Well, I think that just having that many people out doing something, a citizen action, really, it seems obvious that really promoted the voter turnout, just in and of itself.
Okay, on to Nancy.
Yeah, just quickly, I'm sure that Shirley Weber is working with all the county clerks on a coordinated effort. So I think we could ask our county clerk what they're doing statewide with the other clerks. I'm certain they have a county clerk association.
Now, county clerk or the elections officer? You're muted, Nancy.
Isn't Mark Church the county clerk assessor? I don't know the title, but they do elections. It's SMC ACRE, SMC Acre. It's assessor county recorder, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're called different things,
Yeah.
I think, in different counties. And she's the Secretary of State, so
Right.
I'm certain they're coordinating about this. And I think but this goes back to research. It would behoove us to figure out who's doing what and put it in one place and keep track of it, so we know really where the gaps are.
Is that a good, Nancy?
That's a good one, because that's easy. We can, contact the elections and ask them locally, and contact Shirley Weber and ask her at the state level, is there a plan? And if there isn't, we're asking because we're worried. Okay. Ashley?
We were talking about, why does the National Guard in each state respond to Trump? How does he get away with that? And I think he's been using the Insurgency Act, and even though it does not apply. So he comes in and says, hi, this is the president, and we've got an emergency here. And on the basis of with the authority given me by the Insurgency Act, I am order you to blah, blah, blah. So that really needs to be clarified, that he can't do that, and not on a piecemeal basis, but for the whole country. But unfortunately, that will come to the Supreme Court.
But the courts have already started to say, no, this is illegal. You can't do that.
Well, but then, okay, yeah.
Ashley's point, I think, is you need to teach the people taking those calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not my job description.
Yeah.
Yours either.
Right.
It's we on the ground who need to get, or in the states who need to get educated and firmed up. You need each governor to say, don't listen to those calls, or don't respond.
It would be great if we could figure out a way to get any calls from the president to those people to be blocked.
We've got Silicon Valley. Those guys have to be good.
Voicemail. Send them to voicemail.
Yeah, but they're all his friends, so they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of going, this has been brilliant, because I want to get all of this captured. But I also want to talk about the next kind of step, which is identifying and supporting candidates.
And that's where I want to help you. I can get you the list.
Right. Well, so I think so, but it brings up the question of, are we only going to focus on the national races? Are we only going to focus on members of Congress, House and Senate? Or do we also need to outreach and look at state races, and then particularly California races? So looking to see, and this is where we might be doing a lot more collaboration. So Nancy?
We have a very active and probably the most successful in the country, Sister District Chapter, which just renamed themselves to be States Win. So States Win, and they just work on flipping state legislatures or heading a state legislature to a point where it can be flipped in the future. So I think any of us should just partner with them for the state people, and they phone bank and postcard. But I'm a little worried if we as a, I don't know what other people think, if we as a club want to focus on flipping the House and the Senate, then maybe as a club we should stick to that. Whereas as individuals, we could help States Win.
Okay. And that's what I'm looking for, is what's the consensus of people in the meeting tonight? Is, do we want to focus just on this? Do we want to also collaborate with, as you say, States Win? So Ashley, you got your hand.
Yeah, I second what Nancy said. I mean, we have stated that our focus now is to flip the House, but that does not mean we've always had a policy in this club that we could bring here and to our membership and ask for help for any issues that we have. And so I think we would never turn down helping someplace where they need help, but still sticking to our idea that our overriding issue is flipping the House and Senate.
Okay. And so when we look at identifying and supporting the candidates, we'll keep the club focus at that top level of Congress.
Well, I have a further suggestion. If people like it, it seems to me that it would be a really smart strategy to pay a lot of attention to the secretaries of state in other states, like focusing money, probably just money or phone banking. That seems extremely important. That's such a key position if we want to save our elections.
Okay. Allison, you got your hand up?
Susie, I want to tell you something.
Well, wait, Greg, hang on. We got a bunch of people in line.
Okay. I don't know how to get in line.
We'll add Greg to the line.
Raise your hand, Greg.
Put your hand up like this.
Allison, you're
and it
muted.
should-
You have to unmute.
Okay. Allison?
Hello.
Hi.
I think if we do focus on state at all, I do agree with Marshall. It would be really helpful to know out of all the Democratic candidates running for governor, who we should support and get behind to consolidate votes. And I recently heard of a lieutenant governor candidate, Oliver Ma, who's been really outspoken about abolishing ICE, and he supports Gaza. He wants the UCs to disinvest from all the Israel supporting funds. So he seems like a great candidate that we could potentially support if we want to as a club.
Okay. Good. Okay. Then I think, Gail, I think you're next.
I made my comment, so
Okay.
I can lower my hand. Yeah,
Okay.
Just occurred to me, the Secretary of State just seems so key. There's probably not very many up for election. It wouldn't be in every place in the country, but there could be some key races that would be really important.
Okay. So we might have maybe a subgroup that looks at that. Then that might be an option. Okay. Bill?
I was just going to, say, depending on the people power that we have coming out of this meeting, and if we get more people, then yeah, I would say we could look beyond just the national federal races. But the bottom line is saving our democracy is we have to win the House and the Senate. That's the bottom line. If whatever else we do, whatever else happens in the election, if our people win, that's great. But we've got to have the majority of the House and the Senate, and that's where we have to put all our energy, I think.
Okay. Thanks. Nancy? Yes.
Nancy Rigby, you're
muted.
Okay, so a couple things. We also might have some state initiatives on the ballot, especially the ones around the voter acts that we've been working on that we want to continue to support, right? And after the next state convention, when they're doing all their endorsing works on the state level elections, we will have heard from more candidates and have a better idea on our state elections, who they are and who we should support there. So I would suggest that after the next state convention, Democratic convention, that we'll know more after all the endorsing activities.
And that's this month, so that's
Right. Yeah.
good timing. Okay, Marshall.
I think, as Bill just said, and I obviously agree, we need to focus on the main focus is flipping the House and Senate, 99%. And the rest are obviously critically important, very critically important. And so the task force is going to have to prioritize our energy and what we can actually do. And I think that's one of the jobs of the task force is to prioritize.
Okay. All right.
Don't forget Greg.
Oh, let me get Greg and then you, Mary.
Okay, what I want to point out is that at the meetings of Focus for Democracy that last an hour and during which they propose candidates and ask for money, they gather in 1 hour over $1 million of donations, sometimes $1.5 million. So we can't compete with that because the people, there are about 1,000 or 1,500 people who are members of Focus for Democracy. And all of them, most of them are very rich people who at the drop of a pin give $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in one step. So when we say we have to focus our energy, I don't know what we mean by energy, but money is energy also.
Well, but we can help get the word out that these are the candidates we, be able to postcard, things like that. But okay, back to Mary. Okay, whoa, back to Mary.
On the ground.
Everything is important. I mean, you guys all have brought up great points, but there's 4 states that we can win in the Senate. It's North Carolina, Maine, Ohio, and Alaska. I just heard Mary Peltola. She was amazing. She's going to win. She's already ahead. Roy Cooper in North Carolina is already ahead. Sherrod Brown has been ahead in a couple of polls, but not all of them. And Maine is a blue state. We're going to win Maine. We don't know who the candidate is until their primary. There's no problem probably with Maine, at least for sure if it's their governor who's running. We don't know if there's the other guy who's progressive but doesn't have the connections that Janet Mills has.
So
anyway, we only need 4 states. So
one more time, that was North Carolina, Maine, Alaska, and Ohio.
And Iowa is as possible. Just remember Joni Ernst stepped down because she's afraid of losing, probably. But it depends on who wins their primary. Texas is crazily it depends on who wins the primaries there. And then Nebraska, we have independent Dan Osborne. Greg, did you see him at the Focus for Democracy thing last week? He's very good. He's not a Democrat, he's an independent. But he's running against a millionaire and he's a labor guy and he's just lambasting this guy. His family has given tons of money to all these right-wing candidates and stuff for many, many years. And Dan Osborne, he looks like he could win. He came close to winning last time, I believe. He ran against Deb Fisher last time. And now he's running against the guy, his name is Ricketts. And these candidates are fabulous. So we have to take that into consideration. But my point is, for me personally, I'm not necessarily just going to give to the candidates that are running for Senate. You can give like the sister district candidates in the same state. That's actually probably much better bang for the buck, as they say, because a smaller amount of money and a lower level campaign can go farther, oftentimes. There's also voter reg or voter engagement groups. In North Carolina now there's a fundraiser coming out for a Latino group, and Latinos have really flipped. That's one reason why that Texas race was what we won last week. There's a lot of Latinos in that Texas district. So there's lots of options for work, but if you focus on the state that you're interested in, and in my case it's those 4, You can get to a variety of things. You can phone bank, you can text bank, you can do anything you want. But if it's in the same state, then you're working on the Senate race anyway. Typically, that will help the Senate campaign. So I know that's what I'm planning to do because we're gonna get the House. We're sure we're gonna get the House. It's just
Yep.
obvious.
All right. Elsa, you're up.
Yes, 2 points. One is, back to the money. Guys, we are the boots on the ground. A lot of the wealthy people do not pick up the phone and phone bank, do not go to another state and canvass. And it is phenomenal how important all that is. But we have to make it our number one priority that every weekend we're out doing that. And every Sunday afternoon we're phone banking. That was one point. The second was, Mary's point. This bothered me so much with Biden in 20. Biden had zero coattails. We only got the Senate because we had the VP to do votes. And I was just shocked. And I was shocked by how much all the Biden advertising was me, not vote for the various senators. And if you're going to vote for a Dem senator, you're also going to vote for the Dem president. So I would say never give money to the top slot. Give it one level down. And in this case, I would like to think, Mary, as you were saying, that if you can vote for Dems in any of the, I don't know about the state races, as you were saying, but if there's a senator and a House person up, I would hope they would help each other so
Right.
that.
Nesting. They call it nesting.
Thank you,
Races
Mary.
that
I
are
love
like
there's
that.
a name for it now too. But Mary, if one is a little more tenuous getting in, I'd give the money there. I'd do the phone banking there if the other person is a shoe-in. As if I can predict these things with my crystal ball.
Before we go on, Marshall, in the chat, there's been talk about endorsing. Is that something that we as a club are interested in doing? Is that anything on our agenda? Or are we just going to be promoting candidates, shall I say?
And are we going to make a difference?
That's a very large conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it on the back burner, but I want it being kind of on the consciousness that we need to make that decision maybe next month. Because that will be, we might have races coming up.
So I wanted to clarify something because Focus for Democracy has been brought up a couple of times. And yes, it does raise a lot of money. And yes, there are people there that are wealthy and give a lot of money. But I want to point out that not everybody that attends their meeting, it's not a matter of becoming a member, it's joining their meeting. Not everybody that joins their meeting can afford to give thousands of dollars. They don't. The average, even when you configure the large donations, the average is not big money. The averages are much lower. And they show you, they don't tell you who gave, but they show you as people are pledging donations, and you can see lots of 100s and 200s and so on. But then, they say, oh my God, somebody just gave 10,000 or whatever. But anybody can join. But the main value of listening in to their meetings is their strategic approach. And their strategic approach is finding groups that are on the ground, that are getting out the vote and are targeting the right districts, and how they do that and who to support, which of those groups to support so they can get out, register the right people and get them out to vote. And that's what we want to piggyback on. And they talk about the nesting strategy for all of this. I think Mary mentioned that, nesting. And they talked about nesting strategy so that when you support certain candidates for the House in a very small state that only has a couple of districts, then you're also getting Senate votes at the same time if you do it right. And that's part of the strategy. And so that's what we want to bring specifics to this elections committee, the specifics, and we'll do that. I'm not going to overload it with those names now.
And
Sure.
Mark, don't you think you've always done that, but you haven't done it with their homework?
Well, it's much
we have
broader.
Mary's homework
It's
then.
broader and more strategic
Well, it sounds
because
deeper,
because
too.
they have a group that has statisticians and policy people and so on that work on nothing but that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I completely agree. I mean,
Yeah.
I love this. I love this. And as I said, that's our Mary. But Mary's one person too. And so to be able to go by this.
So again, if anybody's interested in their next meeting, you let me know and I'll get you.
Well, why don't you tell us right now? And put
I
it in the-
cannot. I have to send you an invite with a link, and then you use that link to join the meeting.
Yeah. But do you know the date of the next?
Yes, it's February 10th at 5 o'clock Pacific time.
And are they once or twice a month? Remember
They are not regularly scheduled. They let you know, and if you attend one, they will send you an email about the next one.
Thank you.
And they will also tell you. They will also tell you how it went. You know how much was raised and which groups were given to, which ones they recommend, and so on, and why. It's the why that's the value of attending the meeting, the strategic why and how they get to it.
So now, Marshall, does that take us into kind of our next points, which we're talking about creating a winning message?
Right.
And-
Whoever's typing, mute themselves.
Pardon?
Could whoever's typing mute themselves? We hear the clickety clack. Thank you.
So that was one of our next points, though, was to talk about creating a winning message. So basically the whole idea of the communication side of this, that as we're talking to people and we've got maybe specific candidates we're promoting, we need to make sure we have a good message that we're putting out. And hopefully it'll be the message from that candidate's campaign. But that's also something that we want to make sure is that we're crafting well done messages so that we're not being ignored because our message is anyway. Another item was, how do we reach undecided voters and Trumpers?
Same answer, focused groups that focus on districts in getting out the vote and focusing on the potential voters that are expected to vote Democratic. Same answer, the Focus for Democracy recommended groups
Are we
to support.
probably going to be taking that list of candidates as our focus then?
No, we'll bring the reasons for the recommendations to the group and they can decide if that's what they want to do or not. But it's just a well thought out idea with a focused group that's on the ground doing the work. And it's not, the money doesn't go to Focus for Democracy. I got to make this clear. Focus Democracy is not raising money for for Democracy. They're raising money for on-the-ground groups that they investigate to see how they get out the vote or how they get people to register, and that they're the people you want to register as opposed to random non-voters, for example. And also people that are voters, how you get them to understand the issues. They work with groups that do that as well.
They train people a year ahead of time.
Yes. And they're on the ground all year round. And as I emphasize, the money is not for Focus for Democracy. The money is for these on the ground people that are doing the hard work so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
The specialists locally.
So let's go ahead then and switch to kind of the logistics of this. The last year we've had two task forces. We had social justice and we had communications. Elections was under communications last year. How do we want to do this year? And more importantly, who is leading the effort? Don't all speak at once.
Well, Susie, why don't you just outline briefly what
I
you said
have no
before?
outline. That's just it. This is up for,
Oh.
I'm looking for recommendations, for some suggestions. You know, I mean, elections could stay under communications.
We've already killed that idea.
Well, I guess, have we? So Nancy, I see your hand up. Nancy Rebbe.
Yeah, okay. So let's see. First of all, I love the idea of having Focus for Democracy being one place we bring back names, because there are other places we can go and check with too, like Bernie Sanders, Our Revolution, and all the candidates they're putting forward, and like the Working Families parties and all the candidates they're working forward. So this is a conglomeration of many places where we'll come together with ideas. And as far as who leads it, I mean, if we really feel like our resistance work that we've been doing right now is still going to continue, and it can continue as simply continuing to aggregate and list the things, the activities, the resistance activities we're doing locally, then that could be something that I can handle, just keeping that up on the website. And I can go forward as kind of working with somebody. Bill, if you and I want to do the elections task force thing, lead that together while we kind of back burner communications and put that on just sort of, autopilot.
I think you have to make the elections task force the top. Absolutely. Not depend on some other task force.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying that the task force work we were doing for resistance task force will not meet to do that anymore. That I will continue to just promote on our website the things that we've historically been doing for the last few months. So that'll continue to be supported and presented, but Bill and I could maybe then lead the elections task force and back burner the other one. That's what I was suggesting.
Okay. Nancy Goodman?
Yeah, and I agree with what Nancy and Greg say. It seems like if we're really focusing on flipping the House and the Senate, let's not lose focus. So let's keep one big elections task force. Maybe that's our only task force. And like Nancy said, the work they're doing with communications can be subsumed under it, social justice as well. But it makes sense to have one elections task force be top level and one or two co-leaders, a leader or co-leader of that.
Looking for those leaders?
Nancy just volunteered too. And it sounded as though Marshall could be.
Nancy volunteered, Bill also.
Well, she asked him. So it sounds like we have an elections task force that Nancy is willing to be a chair of. We haven't heard from Bill. But in any case, it sounds like we have a chair for a task force.
And just like org, I mean, it sounded to me, Marsh, as though you might also be interested in that.
No, I said I wasn't going to chair it.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, I didn't want to eliminate you from that.
All right, well, let's hear from Bill.
So a couple of things, and people like Greg and Marshall can speak to this too. So historically, the precedent has and was, and looks like it's getting back to, originally the communications task force was strictly an elections task force. That's what we had before. Then in off years where there weren't a lot of elections going on, it sometimes morphed into something of a hybrid that maybe looked at more local elections. But now it shifted this last time when we didn't have a lot of elections going on. We shifted it to a broader or different kind of task force called communications. My concern is, Nancy, is that I don't think it's fair to you and I don't think we should both try to be leaders for two separate task forces at the same time. I think it's already been well stated from our last meeting and again tonight that elections task force is our number one priority. And what we do with communications is, in my opinion, it's important, but it's secondary to what we're going to do around elections. I'm willing to take a
He already
lead.
said that there's only one task.
Okay, Marshall, can I just finish my point? Thank you. So all I want to say is I'm willing to take a leadership role, but if I'm going to do a leadership role around elections, I can't do a leadership role around communications at the same time. And I don't think it's really fair for you, Nancy, to have to take on a leadership role for both of those task forces.
I think we just said.
I don't think you should.
No, I think we've agreed there'll be just the broad elections. Nancy and I will work on communications side of it as far as events and promoting things. We'll team on that with website and newsletter. I think we're good. So what was under communications will disband. It won't be a full task force. Social justice, I'm going to leave to Diana and Gail to decide, and also too with healthcare, how we want to deal with that. And maybe the focus there will be, how does it impact the elections and the candidates? Maybe that's the direction that kind of goes. Okay, Marshall?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I don't know why I would be the one to clarify, but my understanding is clearly that Nancy said there is no communications task force, period. There is none.
I just said
There's
that too.
only the elections task force that she's volunteered to chair or co-chair. And so that's a non-issue about her doing two, or you, Bill, doing two, because she said there is only one. And she'll on the side, having nothing to do with the elections task force at all, has nothing to do with the elections. She's willing to just post these activities. So it's not her taking on two task forces. It's just one.
I think we're all good. Okay, but the main thing is we've got Bill and Nancy have agreed to lead the elections task force. Okay, and then you guys will decide, maybe you want to do subgroups, that one does Senate, one does House. That will be something your task force. But initially, we will be inviting all now, this is the question. We'll invite all members of the club to the task force.
Of course.
Right?
Two meetings a month. Perfect.
Pardon? What am I
Yeah,
hearing?
anybody that wants to be a member can volunteer to be a member. You just have to
No. I'm talking about sending out a mass email to our members, not the newsletter, but to all of our members, inviting them to the task force meeting.
Yeah, it's 2 meetings a month, the way org is and the general meeting.
I don't know. She may want to have a meeting every week.
Sure.
No, the task force chair will decide when we are going to have a meeting, and the group will agree on a date that works.
But because we're going club wide, I will send it out to the membership,
Thank you.
Of course,
which is 33 members.
of course.
Okay. I mean, we really didn't have anybody tonight that was beyond members.
Who was Trudy? Does anybody know who Trudy was?
No, I was going to go look in our, and
And I remember in the old days, we used to, when we'd see a new name for those first few minutes when people are coming, we'd say, "Oh, Trudy, we haven't, who are you? Could you tell us about you?" I think when we see a new name, that's a great use of the
it
info.
was, well, and we were in the middle of discussing the governor's debate. So
Yeah.
it just didn't, yeah.
But because it's so rare when we get a new
Well,
person, we're so excited.
And it's really hard to
Just for
do when we're
future.
not in person.
For future.
So
I remember
Nancy, you got your
Ashley
hand
doing
up.
it, though. Is Ashley still here? I don't think so.
Yeah, let's see.
But she used
Oh.
to pick it up well. I think.
Right. So, yes, to when you send out your email to all of the members, then we'll have to see what the timing, how many responded, what the timing looks like, and
Well,
I mean,
I'm going to say you and Bill get together and propose 1 or 2 dates, and then and then we'll build the email around. Here are the proposed two dates for the task force.
Okay.
And then ask them to reply.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just so we know, we do know when org meets, and we do know when social justice meets, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Well,
those days are set.
We
Well,
don't
but
know if we have a
does
social
org-
justice.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
does
we have a
org-
social justice. They've been meeting. They have a day of
Well,
the month that they've set.
but we're changing the rules as of this meeting, so that will be social justice to go back
And doesn't the org meeting for the general club become the organizing meeting and the assigning of, you take this candidate, you take that, for the elections task force? Why do we need an org meeting? If
Yes,
it's
we
all
still
the
need-
elections task.
actually, that's a good question. Because
Totally.
Yeah. I think it's elections, Marshall, that defines the agenda. I mean, because we're all elections. That's the main thing, the only focus we have. So I think what was the org meeting becomes the the worker bee meeting. And I think you should choose the third
I
Wednesday.
respectfully disagree with that. The org meeting is a meeting where to help the chair sort out issues, figure out an agenda, and it has nothing to do with specifics of the task force.
Well-
It's a help. It's a help. And if the org meeting doesn't need to happen a week, then you don't have one. Or if the org meeting needs to happen more often, the chair can call an org meeting. It's not, I don't agree with that. It's always a functional thing.
Why then does the org meeting need to set the agenda? I would think the task force for elections would set
Okay.
the agenda.
hang on, because we may still need to have org because it could be in our bylaws that we do this. So that I'd have to go and look, and Ashley's not on the meeting to answer that.
And well, not only that, but we may want to evaluate separately how we're doing with the task force
Yeah.
aside from the task force.
So
Right.
org will still, at least initially, we're just going to continue on. Org meets on the third Wednesday.
Org becomes the oversight.
Well, that really is what it should be, is, it's handling the organizing of the meeting, to making sure that if we are having a speaker, are they set up so that we then have bios and things to put into newsletters. That's what org has been doing. So that's a good thing. And then that's separate from the elections task force meeting.
We keep that structure.
Yeah. Nancy?
Susie, I have to quit now, and I will do my thing, and I promise to send you the list. Okay?
Okay, that's great.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Greg.
Bye, Greg. And I have to leave at 8:32, but I think this discussion about the org meeting and the social justice task force, all of us are stretched with so many meetings, and every time you turn around, there's like 5 more vigils. So I think to the extent we can minimize our meetings or shorten them, in general would be really good. And as a member of Social Justice Task Force, I would be happy, and I don't want to abandon that group, but I'd be happy to let it go and focus on other things. Because I am doing the Center for Common Ground stuff, and that's going to heat up this year. And I don't know how other people feel too. But in general, we're all overwhelmed by invitations to come to this protest or this rally, and that is not going to lighten up.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think social justice, Diana and Gail will have to sit down and go, okay, what do we want to do under the conditions that we've got the elections ruling things? So
does it fit?
Yeah. Okay. We kind of went through. The only other thing I had was, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and share again. I had this. I just want to go over just some of the events that are coming up. And these are our regular guys. And I want to make sure everybody knows that Nancy has this marvelous marches and protests. And she's listed all the upcoming events. So you can always, and this is on our website.
I was gonna say, it's a little outdated now. I need to do some work on it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still pretty close. This is a new one. This is this weekend. So if anybody is available Saturday, this came out of the Central Committee, that there's going to be this Fighting for America event on Saturday in Palo Alto. So that is and this was in our newsletter. I put it into the one that I sent out on Monday. So we've got that. This is the Democratic Party saying, same thing as us. We've got to get out and win the elections. Okay.
Susie, that's just a one-time thing, though. That's not going to be.
Yes, that's just a one-timer.
As opposed to the wolves and the surge thing, those are weekly.
Yeah. Then the other one is we've got the convention coming up, and Nancy referred to that earlier. You can register. You can also sign up to volunteer, and that gets you in to be able to, especially if your volunteer time is early in the 3 days, you can then attend things afterwards. So, and again, that might be really good for us to be more active with the county.
Oh,
amen.
So can I? So yes. I want to real quick interrupt there. So I did get signed up to volunteer. My shift is in fact Friday night, and I'm spending Friday. I actually did get in on that, whatever that seminar is they're doing at the convention on Friday. What's it called? It's called
Keynote.
It's what?
A keynote? You talking?
No, it's not a keynote. It's like a focus on. No, it's not. What is it?
Diana might know.
I can't get to. Oh shoot! Oh, you guys, my
Just
brain.
Describe it. You don't need the title.
Well, it's
Diana. Do you want to unmute and maybe you know the answer?
Her hand is raised. Yeah.
I have the agenda that I can share with you.
Okay. Well, let me. So let me do one more while I'm sharing, and then we can put that up. The last one I want to bring up was there's a really good luncheon coming up with Larry Diamond, Saving American Democracy. That could be a good luncheon event if anyone is interested. Okay, let me stop, and Diana, you can share the agenda.
Just Larry Diamond is not the most progressive guy. I've just got to say.
So the event that I got into on Friday is called Camp KDEM Rise and Organize, and it's all about training on how you organize. So I will come back hopefully with lots of fresh ideas.
You could probably give that, by the way.
Okay, and Diana?
Yeah, it's not letting me, I'm not sure why. It's not letting me have the share screen for what's on my desktop. I'm not sure why. It was giving me yours and oh, you have to unshare maybe.
I did. I
I
did.
don't know why it was showing me yours. It wasn't showing. Oh, here it is. Maybe I tried to share before you got on,
Ah,
you know.
before I was.
Anyway, this is the
Oh,
agenda,
yeah.
and I will put in chat the a link to it. And just to say that in reading the background for the convention, people can, even when you're not a delegate, and there at the convention, you know, as an official delegate. Nancy was right in saying that you can volunteer or you can be there as a proxy for someone else. You can do that. And also, I learned today that all Democrats are welcome to go to any of the caucuses. And that might be something that might be of interest to you. I'm a member of the Progressive, the Women's, and the Black caucuses. So, and those are really interesting meetings. And you know, as I said, I'll share the link of the agendas with you in case that's something that is interesting to you. And then and also all Dems are welcome to attend the Democratic lunch.
Ah,
And here it is, and it's $50. It's at, let's see if I can, the Per Diem restaurant. Let's see if I can control this better. Apparently not. Can't get it. I'm having a hard time with my sharing screen today. I'm not sure why. Anyway, it's $50 and it's at Per Diem, which is within walking distance of the convention. And we're very excited about, oh, here we go. Let's try this. There you go. Oh, how about that? And so these were the people that attended last year at the luncheon. So that's nice. So it's $50 if you buy it before the 14th, and then $60 from the 15th to the 19th, or $80 from the 20th to the 21st. So there are limited seats available for the luncheon, but it would be great to have as many of you as are interested in going be there. A lot of our state electeds are there. They will be introducing themselves, speaking to us, and it's very fun to rub shoulders. And I made that comment about our Secretary of State, and I'm thinking that we need to go and try and find her next weekend at the convention and have a little conversation with her about how the different secretaries of state are being organized and whether they're ready for the deluge that's about to come. So in any case, I will share the two links with you in the chat. Are there any questions before I get rid of this? Okay.
thank you. Thank you. And then I'll just add one more event, which I didn't put in the newsletter yet. But we do have another No Kings March coming up, March 28th. So
And February 8th on Sunday too.
what is
Oh,
February?
it's not No Kings, but it's going to be a big rally though.
Okay.
Where's that, Where's that, Diana?
That's at our corner, Redwood City. Indivisible Portola Valley is leading it.
And that's
And that's Sunday at 11, right?
Right, Sunday the 8th at 11.
Why do they do it in the middle of church? Some people still go to church.
I
That's
can't
fine.
respond to that. I'm not part of the
It's not the
organizing for that.
organizing. I know, I just stuns me. Big campaigns don't do that,
okay.
but I haven't convinced them yet.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, Nancy, I wanted to also have you talk about volunteering with the Dems, with San Mateo County Dems. You sent that.
Oh, right. So I'm going to sign up for the one, what was my note on that? The one that really makes the most sense for me. I should definitely, where's that note?
Let's see. So
That was,
I thought you said it was something about communication, Nancy.
well, yeah, well, the one, I'm just really struggling here tonight for
actually,
some reason, you guys.
Diana, if you'll stop sharing, I've
I'm
got the
trying
link
to.
and I can share it.
I don't know what's wrong tonight.
Oh my.
My computer, my 10-year-old computer, needs to be replaced,
Oh.
and the program has been threatening me for weeks that I needed to upgrade, and my son is telling me they're just trying to, boss you, they're trying to, harass you, and one by one, different apps and different programs are no longer available to me, and
Right.
I'm thinking that this is one of them. So.
Okay,
Nancy-
so, and I'm back to my notes now. Okay, so,
Nancy, is this did I display the right thing?
yeah, so
Okay.
communications tech support, obviously, I'm already replied to get myself on that one because our website is going to be tied to whatever they kind of decide with some of these things. So we've got that, but there's also local candidate support committee where if we decide we want to pick some things and do our own like phone banking and canvassing or support some very specific, like if the county Democrats do some specific, canvassing around the local areas, if we want to participate in that. And then there was also the 2026 US House Election Committee. And I don't know, to what extent do we want to get, it looks like they're going to, it is BAC, the Bay Area Coalition.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like they're going to partner strictly with them. And so the question would be, do we want to get, kind of hooked in with that group? That's that task force.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So how many people should be involved in that?
Well, this might be a good one to bring to so when you emailed that out, did you just send it to org?
I just sent it to org, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we include the link in the elections task force.
And see, yeah, okay.
And say,
yeah.
By the way, here are also things that from the county Dems that you might want to be involved in.
Because those are both, both of those things, the local candidates and the US House election thing are really kind of tie in with us, but I don't want to go personally and sign up for all those. And
and this is some of the collaboration that I see our task force can be involved with.
Exactly, but I just don't know to what extent. Like if I say yes, count me in for the 2026 US House Election Task Force, are they going to expect a lot of work out of me, or is the collaboration with what we're going to do enough? I guess that would be my question.
Well, that's a good question, and that would have to be a question really for the Central Committee.
That's a good. Okay,
whoever's running that.
Okay, I'll write back to Karen and kind of tell her where we are then. Yeah, okay, that's good. See what she says. Yeah.
So these are all meetings, Nancy, that you're listing that are going on at the convention, right?
No. This is the County Democratic Party.
Oh, okay. So when are they? But each one of those groups where they're looking for volunteers is a group unto itself, right? That will
within the San Mateo County Democrats. Yes.
Right. So somebody will lead that and call a meeting and pull people together.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what's her name? Karen
Just
Mackey
like-
Karen
Right,
Mackey
and
would
just-
know that, right?
Well, yeah, she's organizing all this, right? And
Right.
so
To the extent of that.
so consider it's similar to what April does with her task force.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
And I really think everybody should be a member of the DCC. There's stuff that happens there that's important. Sometimes it's not so important, but they are a big deal. And we need more of a sync, I think, and information flow to all of our membership about it.
So one of the things that is that the Central Committee is currently doing is looking to see if the chartered clubs should have a membership in the Central Committee.
Oh, that's right.
And so that might also help us to collaborate closer.
Yeah.
So
I thought we were going to do that. Like Ashley was talking that up.
Well, it's been proposed and it was very hotly debated in their last meeting. So
Very
Can't imagine,
controversial.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine why we wouldn't want to.
Well,
Yeah.
no,
There's
but the
also-
question is at the central committee, are they going to move forward with this?
And the
Already
sub-
Only a
one vote.
proposal today.
They sent it off to the bylaws committee. They didn't make a decision. The head of the bylaws committee is upset that again they get to go through months of figuring that out. But the pushback was from a lot of people who said, wait a minute, we have had to go get elected. You're going to bring all these other people in and it's going to water down our votes. And there was a lot of, I mean, I privately could call it NIMBYism.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of, I mean, I'm not at all sure that they are going to offer to have clubs come in with a representative.
It's
But
very
frankly-
divided.
Yeah,
But
thank
if
you,
they
John.
do, why wouldn't we want
Oh,
to?
no, we all agree
No,
on
we
it.
already said
we
we're-
decided that already,
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
We already voted on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the thing that made sense to me at the time is they could carve it up actually. They could start out with saying like, well, you can participate on everything except voting on changing the bylaws, for example. Maybe there would be just certain actions that they could carve out and say, well, this would be only for the elected members, and then all the rest can vote on everything else, or
And
something like
too
that.
would,
But
that
yeah,
too would be a
Yeah,
bylaws
yeah.
change for them.
right. So
And that's always painful to go through too.
right.
But we should push for that, no question. We should push for getting votes.
Okay, and I had another quick question. Is anybody here, and I'm specifically Elsa or Bill, are going to April's event on Saturday?
I'm probably going to do it.
You're going to go? Okay, good, because I cannot go, and I really regret that I can't. So looking forward to an update.
Is
from
that the Fighting for America, the Palo Alto?
No,
No, it's,
that's,
it's called the Resistance Task Force.
Ah,
it's
okay.
a task
part
force
of the
of the,
DCC.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
It's the group that's been going to EPA and Daly City and listening, as well as doing voter reg, as well as making connections to places we are underrepresented, have fewer representatives, and who need that higher voter reg and higher voting percentages. As a function of coming out of the 24 election where so many more people voted for the other side among registered Democrats. Like we had to learn from that is the idea.
Can I remind everybody that you can always individually join San Mateo County?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a member. What do they call it? I'm a
Join all these groups as members.
Associate. Yeah.
associate. Yeah, I'm an associate member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you pay a little bit of dues to be that.
Yeah.
But everybody can go to their meetings. But
Yeah.
as an associate or alternate or elected member, you get the agenda every time, you know who the speakers are, and you get access to all of the
Yeah.
Right.
people who do have votes. You have their contact info.
All right, well, that is all I have on my agenda tonight. Is there anything anybody wants to add?
Well,
Could I just mention
sent this to
healthcare?
us. Nancy sent us the announcement, but I would like to call a special attention to something that sounds like very nice and supportive and could attract media, which is always a good thing. This is February 12th, that event, vigil in or march, whatever, in downtown Redwood City against ICE. Media likes to report on things around major holidays, and it's always good if you can get a good turnout where there's going to be media there to get the message out to the public.
That's the 13th, not the 12th. It's
Oh.
Sunday the 13th at 11.
What are we talking about?
My paper says 12.
Oh, that's a different group. They're going downtown. And the 13th is Jefferson
Yeah.
and
No,
ECR.
this-
The
this
12th is
Thursday,
downtown.
February 12th. It's a multi-faith thing.
Yeah, it is.
Is that the Wolves?
That's
No, the Wolves is on
multi-faith.
Tuesday.
Okay.
But they don't know yet where downtown they are going. They're looking
I
for,
think that was sent to us by Nancy Goodban, I think.
Okay.
well, and there are other groups sending that out.
Is that the vigil that they're talking about on the 12th?
Probably, yeah,
Yeah, because I heard it was a multi-faith vigil.
Yeah,
right.
they're the inventors and drivers, but other people are picking it up to send it around.
This is along the idea of, like the pillars of support. We want to try to get, religion or faith groups to stand up. Currently, some of them are kind of holding that in public ways.
Well, they've got pulpits, so they can really be very effective to more people.
Well, yeah, they can. It depends, I guess, where you are, and some are more outspoken than others.
And they wear collars, so people listen to them more. I mean,
Well, it's a terrific media event to, like impress the public. I like the idea of things that are going to be seen. Although some very effective work is not seen, but this is a good one to be seen.
Anything else?
I'll just say on CalCare, can I do one minute?
Yeah, please.
CalCare is going to be Gail, do you want to finish something?
Well, I do have a request, and that is, I do have helpers coming now a few days a week, and sometimes there's not much for them to do, and they can help me address letters so I can produce more letters than I otherwise. It doesn't always work out that way, but I write the message and they address the envelopes.
Nancy Goodband.
You can help me get letters. I don't care where they're going. I think the letters are a good idea, no matter where they're going.
Okay, I will respond to that, and Mary will respond to that at minimum. Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, they have so many hours, they won't come for just a few hours. They have to have a certain number of hours in their shift, and sometimes there's not too much for them to do. So
great. I could borrow them. Healthcare. And
so they're not supposed to do much housework, but it doesn't say anything in the rules about writing letters or writing addresses.
That makes them paid card writers. Oh my God.
Okay.
Handwriting is key. CalCare is going to be introduced the week of February 14th to 20th. I'm supposedly hosting a phone bank that week, and I will invite you all, and I'd love to have you either come in person or I hope it's going to be on Zoom. These are easy calls, and they will be calls to people who have already signed up to support CalCare, so that we get them organized and we get them to come to other ongoing phone banks as well as farmers market efforts and even canvassing. And I will say, Marsh, last night in the debate watch party, when I mentioned CalCare, there were blank stares around the whole room. And one person thought and said, "Oh, I think I've heard something about that."
And I think only one of the candidates mentioned healthcare.
Well, a number mentioned healthcare. Nobody, even Betty, didn't go to CalCare. Like maybe it's a scary topic.
No, but somebody said, I want to say it was Medicare for all. And it was a supportive.
Yeah.
I don't recall who it was.
I don't either. I hate to say. I have so many notes on this, but
I was thinking Thurman.
Everybody, sorry, who?
Thurman.
It may have been, but I doubt it. But it could have been. But I thought all of them talked about all the motherhood topics. And then there were a few naysayers. Prop 36 was a dividing point, which was interesting. But everybody who was against it said what their alternative was. There's still a lot to figure out on that front. But we're going to do a big push for CalCare. And at the same time, we've got to be pushing Newsom, because he who's running for the presidency has backed off CalCare, which he was very supportive of, and Medicare for all, because he's worried that not enough people will support it. Although all the national polls say a majority of people support it. So we need to arm more of us who can write and talk to other people and get this through. Our current system, which is not a system, is going to cost $500 billion more for California alone over the next 10 years. And we've already been decimating bits here and there. And luckily, I couldn't agree more with Susie about healthcare is a great issue to create the wedge for not only Republicans, but I'm starting to think for centrists also in the Democratic Party. And I know Mary will say it's more important to get people elected then, but if we can get a progressive elected at at this versus a centrist, if it comes down to that, I'd love pushing the progressive forward.
So Elsa, your phone bank is 14th through the 20th?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those days, and they're circling. Well,
Oh, it's just one of those days. It's not all of those days.
No, other people will have days that they can. Oh, and I could send you guys those.
Where's your location of the bank where you're doing it?
Well, I hope it's going to be virtual, Bill, because I can only fit 7 people in different rooms in my current apartment, which I still call a house, but it's not one.
Okay, I just wanted to know, when and where, that's all.
What
Yeah,
about do we have access to the Democratic Volunteer Center?
yes, we do.
We don't
We
have an
could
office
set something
now.
up there.
We don't have an office until July.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, but virtual
But-
phone banking, that'll work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and Mary's our link there. But definitely getting them to make it a priority for them would be a big deal thing. Mary, is there anyone in the DVC who's particularly healthcare oriented? Can you name?
Not that I know of. I can ask. But I mean, most people we're working on elections basically.
Yeah.
No, and that's not true. We've also been promoting the demonstrations more than we used
Oh,
to.
yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
2 fabulous priorities. I really agree with Susie that using healthcare is, I think, the biggest driving force, because every single person is a human with a body and a brain that sometimes needs help or their family member needs help. It's in all the headlines now. It blows my mind that KDEM doesn't have a healthcare caucus. Our DCC doesn't have a healthcare committee, and I should go make that one happen. But it's it's more in the news than the environment, but it's so in the news that we're crazy not to be making that the first talking point, I think, when
Yeah.
we promote progressive.
When they're,
You
they're
know-
taking it away. People really get mad when you take something away. It's very different.
True.
And that's why it's in
Which is
swing
basic.
states, it's very important. They're getting a lot of traction out of that. People are mad. They used to have something and now they're taking it away, right?
Well,
So-
and that it's basic and that it's
Talking
costing
point.
more and more, and that I can't afford to go to dinner anymore. I can't afford to do this, that. I can't afford to travel because my health care has doubled or in some cases tripled. And everybody needs it. And we're all getting older too, where 80% of the healthcare dollars are spent over 65. For people 65 and over, that's where 80% of the healthcare dollars
Yeah,
are.
but one of the
Okay, wait.
points
We got Gail and then Marshall.
Oh, I thought Gail's was up from before.
I don't think so. Gail, you're muted.
I think she's saying no.
I think she's
do-
talking.
she
She's
doesn't-
talking and
You're
thinking
She
that
is,
she's
but
not
she
muted.
she doesn't know how to lower her hand.
Sorry,
You
I didn't
said
notice
that
that I was
before.
muted.
See?
I apologize if it's a sidebar, but does anybody
Right.
have any context or any idea what we can possibly do about the disgusting amount of money being spent on Medicare Advantage ads, which are
Oh,
full of lies? It's basically a lie to say that you will get the same benefits as you get under traditional Medicare. It's not true. And they get to say that over and over again in those ads.
And Gail, Congress
It
is
fits.
really up in arms about that. And that is the bill that Liccardo introduced called the Fix It
Ah.
bill. And he introduced it bipartisanly. And and that was for January. That was going to solve by the 31st, the ACA. And this brilliant fellow said, we are going to get back the subsidies or the premium help for the 24 million that by the end of January are going to be kicked off. And we're going to pay for it through eliminating the Medicare Advantage upcoding fraud, where they get more and more money. Brilliant. That would have been so easy for Congress to pass, and it got shoved away. At the same time, His Lowness in the
Because
White
it's
House
late,
started talking about that.
I want
Sorry.
to go to Marshall and then I want to say goodnight because
Yeah,
it's 9 o'clock.
to Gail's point, it's called, if it sounds too good to be true, it isn't true. You know, we'll give you more health care for less just because we like you.
We give you more in the beginning.
But
We give you
anyway,
a gym
the point
membership.
I raised my hand for was that, you know, Elsie, the point you made in the very beginning of the healthcare thing was that at the debate party the other night, when you mentioned CalCare, you got a blank stare. Okay, so that's the point, is that until people understand what it is, it's a divisive issue. And because not people in the know, but people that don't think it's going to cost them money.
Because
So
that's what
that's
Newsom said.
why we have to focus not on a wedge issue, but electing members of Congress, flipping the Senate. And I think trying to do it through a healthcare wedge might not be the best strategy.
Well,
You're
except
welcome
for
to
what
think
was
that.
just said about healthcare is a big issue because it's a pocketbook issue.
But people don't understand it. That's what I'm saying.
And Marshall, that's why starting the week of February 14th, we are flat out working on that. And we
Yes.
are getting all of the thousands of people who have signed up to support it to be those troops. And of course, I'm going to get all of you, I hope, to be phone banking and canvassing and farmers marketing with us and visiting legislators. Tomorrow night, I'm having dinner with he's spoken to us, with David Leibowitz, who has just been made the head of the new California-wide Physicians for a National Health Program group. And he is going to drive. He keeps saying he's interim, but he's the best guy there. He is going to drive making it more important. And I'm on their communications committee. And Marsh, I wouldn't put a lot past us, frankly.
Well, and it's something for the elections task force to discuss,
Mhm. Right.
right? Okay. Any last announcements? Okay. Thank you all. It's
Night
been
all.
we got a ton
Thank
of
you.
notes.
Yeah, thank you
and
for a
we
very
need to gather
interesting
them.
meeting. And Susie, I just have to say, your newsletter was fabulous. It was
That's
chunked
Ashley.
apart, beautiful.
Ashley
That was
wrote that.
Ashley's? Well, it was fabulous.
Hooters, yes.
So many offerings, but it didn't drown you in copy. It was photo or flyer and bump and flyer and all the different color. It really kept you reading and reading. Thank you.
I redid the basis of it because it was time. If we're going to make a change in the club, it was time for the newsletter to look different too and use our